Over the weekend, cast members of the hit show Family Matters reunited at 90s Con in Hartford. Jo Marie Payton, Reginald VelJohnson, Kelly Williams, and Darius McCrary all came together to reminisce about their 9 seasons on the show. They discussed the disappearance of Carl and Harriet's third child, Judy Winslow, things that went on behind the scenes, and a possibility of a reboot. Jo Marie Payton, who played Harriet Winslow in the series, told fans that she would be open for doing a reboot of the show if one condition was met. Now, if you remember, Judy Winslow, played by Jamie Foxworth for the show's first 4 seasons, was mysteriously written out of the show, leaving many fans wondering what happened to Winslow's youngest child. Today we have our Comedy Hype analysts, Vanessa Fraction and Pierre in studio, along with special guest Spanky Hayes, calling to the show to give their reactions. But first, let's take a look at this clip.
And while he's on that subject of Judy, Jamie Foxworth and all, don't think for a minute that we did not go in. We were together. I was personally very hurt by that. And when I mentioned it to the producers, I said, you guys need to tell me something that's not only creative, but also politically correct in order to straighten out this situation. Because there's no way in the world, a family, you gave me 3 kids, you took away my baby. If you had taken away my oldest child, we could have always come up with an excuse that she was
we would have been happy.
That she was in the mall, or she was with her friends. You took away my baby. And when I asked you, why did you take away the baby girl, you said nobody would notice. I said, you know what? When we're walking down the street, nobody's gonna notice you because they're not gonna ask you. They're gonna ask me, what happened to Judy? So for me, that's one of the other things that I'm not excited about going back into it, because if I do, the very first episode has to be that she comes down those stairs. She could be an adult. She could have gone out there and prostituted. She could have been in prison and killed somebody. I don't care what it is. Because if they're your children, just like my daughter, I said, listen, you can kill, you can steal, you can do whatever, but you come home. Because the worst feeling in the world for a parent is not to know where your child is. So if we do that first episode and Judy comes back, I'll do Family Matters again.
Now, I want to dive right into reactions after seeing that. Vanessa, I see you're a little emotional, so I'm going to start with you today. What's your reaction after seeing that?
Well, I will say, if I never felt emotional or thought about that in such a way before, my God, it's on my spirit now. She really brought that home. She made you truly feel it. And like a praying mother would, you know, and that's even the character that she played, Harriet Winslow, where they were very like, this is a family matters. You matter. Where you went matters. She brought that home. So, Coach, she brought a tear out of my eye. I said, well, where's the collection plate, God? I almost stood up and shouted, thank you! Like, it just was, Lord, please, I understand it now. So much more than I ever did.
Absolutely. Pierre, I'll come to you. What's your reaction to that?
I totally almost agree with Vanessa. I mean, you know, she showed us that she took that role serious. You know, it wasn't just work for her. She took it serious. And even, you know, I take it a step further. You know, to have a black family, to show that we care about each other. You just can't be leaving and when they're gone, you know, and we're going to accept that. You know, we already have a lot of problems with a black family anyway, so we need them, if we're going to portray us, and this is a show that's supposed to portray us in a nice light, let's continue that. You know, let's let this girl leave and then, okay, she gone. And then for somebody to tell her, they ain't nobody going to notice. No, and I like what she said. They ain't going to tell you that, but they're going to tell me that every time I go down the street, what happened. I got to explain. I don't know what the writers were thinking.
Right, absolutely. Now, Spanky, I want to bring you in. What's your reaction after seeing that clip?
I think it does matter that she's there. I mean, if you think about it, after the show's success, she probably had the biggest viral moment out of everybody with her porn situation. I think people who've seen that want to see her.
Absolutely. Now, I want to bring a little bit of clarity. Back in 2011 on Vanity Fair, Jaleel White did an interview about the disappearance. So I want to read a couple quotes from him and then kind of get you guys' thoughts and opinions on that. So when asked about, Judy disappearing, he said, "Oh, Lord, shoot, I didn't get an explanation. Her mama asked for too much and they sent her upstairs. That was it. Back then, family television had a way of getting away with certain things that obviously you couldn't get away with now." And then they said, like, Urkel to space. He said, exactly. My producers, Tom Miller and Bob Boyette, are famously known of having fired Valerie Harper and replacing her with Sandy Duncan. They had a Broadway mentality about performers. If you became a problem on set, they will replace you. With Judy Winslow, they just didn't feel the role needed to be replaced. In one regard, they were right. It didn't stop the run of show. But in the long run, when pop culture does what it does, everything is overanalyzed. Obviously, it's a key mistake. So Pierre, I'll come to you and get your thoughts. Do you think the producers were wrong for the decision that they made for that particular role?
Well, I don't know how they could have made it work. If they want more money, and they're not going to work unless they get more money, what do you do? But do you just give them more money? Then then the train starts to move and everyone wants more money. Before you know it, everybody gets more money. And, you know, as a producer, somebody feel like maybe that's not, you know, it's not valid enough. I just felt like they could have done it another way, but have a girl go up and leave and then actually gone at the show. That's very cocky of a producer to say, we're going to write you out in the most trivial way and just walk out the door and you're gone and we don't want to say nothing. So I think they could have maybe, you know, paid him a little extra to say, can we have one scene? Since you can't do it, we can't reach, you know, the agreement financially, but we'll pay you a little extra to do a scene where you walk, however you exit the show.
Absolutely, make the storyline make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Vanessa, I want to ask you the same question. Do you think the producers were wrong with how they set up to get rid of that character?
Yeah, sure. There were other ways that you could have did it. I think what Jaleel White said, you know, just made sense.
Yeah.
You know, you could have gave her another character, or as Pierre just said, you know, found some way to write her off respectfully. She could have went to boarding school, whatever. But as Jaleel was saying back in the day, you know, there were certain things where like, I ain't got time for all this. You
right.
stay and that's it. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So yeah, I think they could have played it a lot differently because it didn't age well.
Spanky, I'll ask you the same thing. Do you think the producer was wrong with the way that they wrote off the character?
Well, I'm going to agree with both of those guys. And I'm going to say it was, but I will say this. The job of a Hollywood producer is filled with a lot of wrongs. You have to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And a lot of times it's not pretty. For example, Pierre and Vanessa knows this. The way that Hollywood fires you is they stop answering your phone calls. So they never really give you an explanation of why they're firing you or what's not working, or maybe if you're friends with them, but if it's just all business, they don't tell you anything in Hollywood, and producers don't tell you anything. They just ignore you and ignore your call. You'll stop calling and that's it.
And that is true. And what you said, back in the day, because I was in there back in the days, they didn't have social media. Social media can cave a show right now. You know what I'm saying? You take a character out on some BS, we're going to get you back and we're going to show you. But back then, like Spaggy said, there's a lot of wrongs that were done behind closed doors. We didn't know. There was no way for that young lady to express herself. You know, how could she express herself?
Right.
And a lot of black performers, well, any performers, like you said, they've done to people, but especially black performers, they get rid of you, you know? And they almost told you, I've heard people say, like, we don't need you. You think you're bigger than the show you are. And it's like, yeah and no, but treat me with a little more respect. Jesus, I'm not saying I'm the biggest person on the show, but the way you're treating me. Right. You brought me in for, I'm making a number up, $5,000 a week. You now making, this is third season, you personally, the producer, making 3 times as much. Can I not get 15? Can I not get 3 times?
Right.
Like, they're like, nigga, we don't really need you. Let the welfare feed you, okay?
Has it ever happened to you?
Oh no, sir, they needed me.
So, Vanessa.
Affirmative action.
Always need you. You're a big need. Got it, Pierre. Got it. All right, Vanessa, I'll come to you. So,
did they need me?
No, ask me that? Look, we know that.
No,
we know. Look,
listen, I'd be in a different position if they needed me every time.
Okay. Well, I do want to ask this because I think, especially being that the effect that Payton's stance had on you, you know, obviously it's a very strong stance, and she made it very clear, like, I am not going to do it if it's not under this condition. So hearing that and thinking, you know, of course that's going to stop everybody else from doing the show, because you can't do the show without her. So would you say, or do you think that, you know, Payton's decision is selfish to the other cast members?
I think that's a little to each his own. Yeah. I think I can't speak for her on that. I wasn't there. I wasn't in that space. Sometimes I think it's very right, because when you stick together, you get better results. Exactly. On the other hand, they could write her off, say she off looking for the youngest one, and you know what I mean, or what have you, and keep the party train moving. I do understand that this is a business, and in business, there's not a lot of room for emotions, not those kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on where you're at in the business. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can choose to lead with your emotions because look, I've laid it all out there. I've done my labors of love, and right now I'm going to lead with my heart, and this is what I want to do because I've always done this for a passion.
Right.
Or you could say I'm protecting the bag.
Yeah.
And whatever y'all want to do, what y'all want to do, because this is my role in this thing, and I wouldn't judge you for either one, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Spanky, I'll come to you. What do you think? Do you think Payton's strong stance, do you think it can come off selfish to the other cast members that may want to do the reboot?
I don't know. That depends on the person, where you at in life, where you are in that situation you are. I don't remember her being like a main cast member. So I would say that's more for like a Urkel or like a Laura kind of situation. Like, I mean, that's just me. I don't remember her too much on that show. So it's like, I wasn't really a big fan of it, but I think it's a little unselfish. A little selfish to speak on it, but I don't know, man. That's why all negotiations are like you never have a huddle for a negotiation. It's always a Pierre, let me talk to Pierre first. Then now let me talk to you next. And then let me talk to Vanessa next. All negotiations are private. Right. So it's like, I don't know. That's kind of a weird question for me. But yeah. I like that they're standing up for her though, but that could cost the whole job. I mean, if it costs you the bag to do that, I'm not sure if that's always the right answer.
Real quick, and I like what he says, but I counter it. You know, it's time for us to stand up for us as a collective. Yep. Then white folks on Friends did it to get all them $1 million. So I get that the baby girl might not be most important, but we got to act like she's most important. Because she only ain't important to the bag or the producers. But we got to say, no, we're going to stand together. She's probably spoken to the rest of the crew and told her how she felt. This wasn't the first time they heard it. They all in shock, like, what? Right. They talked beforehand. Right. So they know where she stands at. But I think in this day and age, it's time for us to speak up as a group. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't see me here no more, they ain't helped me out. Just understand that. If I'm missing, they didn't stand up for me. And Capone. So just understand it. We on this together.
Well, that means if I go anywhere, y'all didn't stand up for me either. Then I'll keep that in mind. So let me ask you this, then, Pierre, because I know back in 2017 they had a reunion, and Jaleel White was actually at that reunion. And now you have this reunion. The common theme is we haven't seen Foxworth at these reunions. Do you think, like, moving forward, if there is another reunion, or just even them coming together, that Foxworth should be present?
Well, why isn't she present? Is it Foxworth's decision or they? We don't know whose decision. Maybe Foxworth said, I don't want to do it no more. Right. Obviously, I don't think that's true because Joanne probably talked to her. Correct. And probably said, okay, I'm going to help you out.
And she reposted the clip, too.
Okay, so she is, and so she does want to work with it. But again, like Spanky said, she did a little extra after she did the thing, and this is a family show, and sometimes people can't get over that situation. Google it if you don't know what I'm talking about, you know, what she did is a little extra. And sometimes it's a family show. You got to have cereal, you're trying to sell Kellogg's and cleaners. And if they feel like, you know what, we can't have that type of person on the show, it's hard to fight for that. Right. So I applaud her for fighting for it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think she even mentioned, she was saying, even if she comes back as a prostitute or whatever, you know, at least you write it back in. But I'll bring that same question to you, Vanessa. Yeah. Do you think Foxworth moving forward should be at these reunions?
I would personally, as a fan of the show, like to see that, you know, kind of hear her take on it, what it was like for her growing up, what it's like when you are taken off of a show like that, and which directions that you can go in. And it didn't have to go into anything dark. It could just, you know, just understanding that experience. And I very much like the way that Sister Payton put it, where she's saying, look, you could have been wayward, you could have done, you know, such and such or whatever, you know, look at what they did with Bel Air at this point. It done got real dark for the Fresh Prince reboot. Yeah. So it's like there's a way that you could do it, and I love the fact that she was a part of it, and she, you know what I mean, especially now. Right. What's the harm in going ahead and including her in so she can give her perspective on it, especially being so young getting into the business.
That's actually good. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Why not write someone back in like that to show that if you go straight, you ain't the worst in the world. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Come on, let's bring it back.
Like a one and done, or, you know, because some of these aren't on a full-on episodic reboot. Sometimes it's like, let's do a 1 hour, you dig, a special on where they're at now and so forth. And I would much enjoy it, especially seeing Jaleel White and just the whole, please turn back into older Urkel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just need it in my life.
Absolutely, and I think just making it real time because people do experience that now. Yes. But Spanky, I want to bring you in on that same question. What do you think? Do you think Foxworth should be at these reunions as we push forward? Because we've seen her, as I mentioned, she reposted, Payton saying like, hey, I want to stand for her, and her caption was my Rada. So obviously there's something saying that she wants to be there. So moving forward, do you think, being that, just going off that she wants to be there, do you think she should be included moving forward at these reunions?
I think that it's good that she wants to be included. I mean, it's a big part of her life, I'm sure. But like Pierre said that we talked about earlier, like it's decisions you make in life that determine your future. So maybe because they can't sell Kellogg's cereal and they can't sell Fruit Loops, it's no market for her anymore. She stepped out of that, and now she's a grown woman. She's not the little kid that we grew up on TV watching. So, I mean, if she gets her, like Vanessa said, if it's a one-off, I think they should just let her in, and just let it done, get it done. If they're trying to reboot the whole sitcom, then maybe you have to go back to the table and talk about that. But I think, as an actor, we all want to act. Like, I know a lot of, and a little bit off the subject, I know a lot of actresses that moved to LA that end up being in porno movies. And, so that's a part of you know what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate y'all for chiming in. I look forward to hopefully seeing her at least some type of conversation or something. I think fans are as well. But as always, I appreciate y'all for chiming in. You heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. And just like Miss Payton, my mama black. Somebody strong like that, like, you need a mama that got your back, and my mama black and she got my back. It's all right, Pierre. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Put it in the comments.
Put it down below.
My daddy black.
Did you enjoy today's show? You can stop by comedyhype.com/shop to pick up your Comedy Hype News show mug today. And don't forget to always protect Black culture.